Welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who might have been right about the Bills being a Super Bowl favorite. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing great. Actually, I'm doing okay. My sports teams stink, but it's okay. We grind and doing pretty well otherwise. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, I had a similar thing sports team wise, where I saw a Reddit thread of like the Rays can still make the playoffs if they win out, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of fun. Like it won't happen, but like that's something to look forward to. I wonder what time to play today. I googled it, and they lost earlier today, and I'm like, oh, okay, well I guess that's out.
Yeah, the Red Sox have won like 4 in a row now, so like they still technically have a chance, but they need a lot to go in their favor.
Well, hey, at least it's. I mean, I always feel like is gives you a reason to watch. I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. For now, that's for sure.
Yeah. We have someone in the chat saying how long should Caleb Williams be on Zach Wilson watch? We have a lot to get into here, Kyle, on today's show. We can't spend forever because we have 2 games at the recap and then 16 games we have to pick. So let's just jump into it. Kyle, let's start off with the Monday night game that I think we want to spend more time talking about. The Commanders. How about them balls, Kyle? The balls beating the Bengals. And I mean, the biggest story, I mean, we'll get to the Bengals in a second, but Jaden Daniels was legitimately amazing in this game. And
Yeah.
I mean, with all the talk about, well, young quarterbacks start slow, they don't always start slow. Daniels, in my opinion, has now had 3 good games, and the best of which came on Monday night against Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, he was terrific in this game, and just the Bengals were so desperate for a stop in the second half of this game, and he just refused to allow it to happen.
Yeah.
It's like every play, it seemed like every time they needed, like the Bengals were about to get a stop, he came up with a huge throw. They trusted him with a big 4th down late in the game too. He made that one. He had that big touchdown pass to McLaurin at the end too, that basically put the game to bed. And yeah, I mean, we got a terrific Joe Burrow game too, and he basically matched him throw for throw. So it was an amazing performance.
Yeah, it's like one of those like old fashioned pitchers duels that you would see, not to keep talking about baseball, of like where just like both pitchers are just like on fire in a game. Like it really was fun. But I mean, yeah, the Commanders have not punted or turned the ball over in back-to-back weeks. They've scored on every possession other than kneel downs in 2 straight weeks at this point. It's absurd. Obviously, a big part of this too, though. I think Burrow's played, I think he struggled a bit against New England, but has played great back-to-back weeks. But like, I mean, I think weirdly, my take that Joe Burrow would win MVP and the Bengals would miss the playoffs, which I accidentally made, it's looking more and more true, Kyle.
Yeah, he's been amazing, and honestly, in week 1, like you said, it wasn't as good as the last 2 weeks, but if his team could, get over the end zone without fumbling at the 1-yard line, they probably win that game, and he has good numbers in that one too. So I think it's been really good to start the season, and I mean the Bengals, they've got some issues right now, and especially on the defensive side of the ball, because they were just getting beat, it seems like, every time, and I don't think they're not covering very well is the problem. And I don't know, it just feels like it's a team of 2 good edge rushers and then not much else.
And I gotta be honest, Kyle. Right now, it's a team of 1 good edge rusher. I mean, Sam Hubbard just hasn't played well to start the year at all.
Yeah. So I mean, that adds to it, but he's also not very impactful in the run. But I mean, just in general, like they don't really have a lot going for them. And we've talked a lot about how this secondary has continually been depleted, and they've tried these draft picks, these young players, and right now it's not working out for them.
Yeah, some have worked. They just don't have the depth right now. I completely agree. Yeah, so kind of a devastating blow for Cincinnati, who isn't dead yet, but is in a tough spot. No team has ever been 0-3 gone on to win the Super Bowl. You want to just we'll have more talk about these 2 teams later on in the show. Do you want to go to Jaguars Bills?
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, again, we would spend longer if it was a Sunday show, but just because, like I said, got a lot to get to. Okay, Kyle. Trevor Lawrence might not be great. All right, I'll admit it at this point.
Yeah, it's rough.
Mm-hmm.
This was tough, and I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's not in a great situation. I don't know entirely what the deal is. It feels like I don't know. Like he doesn't want to use Gabe Davis for some reason. Gabe Davis just is not involved in this offense. Which he was kind of like that in Buffalo outside of a couple big games. So I get it. But yeah, it just feels like there felt like major quit factor in this game, didn't there? Like it felt like by halftime, it seemed like the players in Jacksonville were done.
Yeah, I completely agree. The Gabe Davis thing, it reminds me of like Odell and Baker Mayfield, but like at least that was like, okay, these are like a good quarterback and like, a really good wide receiver that just can't seem to figure it out. This is like a quarterback that we don't know if he's any good and a receiver that's like okay, but they still have like that like negative chemistry with them on top of it, which is just a weird thing. Yeah, I mean, I kind of don't blame them. What was the score was what 34-3 at the half. I mean, there's only so much you
Yeah.
can do at that point. We saw Mac Jones in, and I guess we can say that at least he didn't outperform Trevor Lawrence. We for sure got that going. But I mean, I think this is, Lawrence clearly isn't the type of quarterback who can just be good in any situation, even though that's what he's paid to do. Like, he's just not that guy. They need to get some talent around him. I mean, this is a horrible situation. It's not an excuse, but like, you're stuck with him anyway. You gave him a big contract. He's going to be here next year. You got to figure out a way to improve this offense.
Yeah. Is it going to be a coaching change in the season?
Well, Kyle, there was a report that the Jaguars were eyeing Bill Belichick. Kyle, your dad might have the take of the year if this comes true.
Yeah, that had become a very trendy thing like shortly after, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I see it happening. So, I mean, obviously, I don't think they're not gonna like hire him mid-season to like take over the team.
Hey, I'm not gonna doubt your dad.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. He would fix a lot of this defense too, which got torched, which is the other side of this conversation, which is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, do we give them official wagon status now? Because they are just kicking ass.
No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, Kyle. I mean, Josh Allen, currently the odds-on favorite to win MVP through 3 weeks, which I don't care how early it is in the season. I like talking MVP. I think it's a fun conversation. I hate basketball. Annoys me because I feel like people talk about it almost more than like winning games. But like football, I feel like we still care about winning more. But I think MVP is fun. And like, yeah, I mean, everything's working right now. Kyle, when we did our preview of like what's the biggest question heading into the season? What one player is like the most important kind of piece to all this? I said I said Keon Coleman, the rookie. He had a big 24-yard touchdown against man coverage in this one. You said Dalton Kincaid, who just, I feel like every key third down, he's just winning his matchup by 5 yards. I mean, this guy is unreal in the receiving game. PFF's second highest rated tight end right now, Dalton Kincaid. Khalil Shakir has really emerged into a player. James Cook is a really nice piece. They have so many pieces right now. And with Josh Allen, as obviously Josh Allen, like, yeah, I mean, this offense is dominating teams and the defense is dominating teams. This team could win the Super Bowl.
It looks like it right now, right? They look fantastic. And, we should always be wary of the September Super Bowl winners, but at the same time, they look really good. The funny thing is like, I think individually you could look at some of these numbers and be like, well, some of these players individually aren't that impressive stats wise. And it's because they're blowing teams out in the first half that like Dalton Kincaid has 8 catches on the year. And it's like, yeah, that's not that great. But at the same time, like it's because the game's over at halftime.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, they've looked terrific this season. I do feel good about, I was very bullish on it. I'm not worried about the offense. But I think what's equally impressive is just how good this defense has been. Especially, before Tua got hurt, they kind of dominated that Miami offense. Offense obviously hasn't been that good this season, but they did what they had to do. And I do think it starts up front with Greg Rousseau in this group. And then, I mean, I think the secondary, especially, obviously a lot of highlight of DeMar Hamlin getting that interception, but I think the secondary as a whole has held up and been very, very impressive this season.
Yeah, they're looking like they're. I mean, the loss in the divisional round to Kansas City this year is going to be so heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's like the one thing, right? Like we're feeling good about Buffalo, and it's just like this defense does look terrific, but I don't need them to I don't need them to look terrific against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have to look terrific against Kansas City. That is the final hurdle.
Doesn't this just feel like we're like 15 minutes into the horror movie and we're seeing all the college kids have fun on the lake?
Yeah,
it
could be. I mean, I don't know. Like there's a lot of 06 Colts with this team though. Like, is this finally the year they're going to get over the hump? Is this finally the year that it looks like they have it all together?
I wouldn't bet against it. I think they've been so good to start the year.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Well, let's move on because, like I said, a lot to get to. Kyle, I mean, you're off to this incredible start to the season. A 12-3 lead right now on our picks show. Only 3 points you've had against you in 3 weeks, Kyle. You're on fire.
I'm doing well. The locks are helping. I'm nailing
Mhm.
the locks. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. So just got to close it out here and keep it moving. And I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, it's kind of a '06 vibes, '06 Colts vibes with you as well. Could this be the year?
Uh, we're not going to talk about that. This is too early in the game. I'm ready to. I'm ready to just focus 1 week at a time.
Okay, 1 week at a time. And also, sorry for bringing up the '06 Colts again. I know that's a bad memory for you.
Yeah, not the best.
Okay, well, you had a lot of good memories in that stretch.
Yeah,
Kyle, I'm going to give you a game. Let's go with a game I think should be a really interesting one. Saints at Falcons.
Saints at Falcons. This is an interesting one. I do like this one. Man, I was thinking about locking this up right off the bat.
Wow.
I am going to hold off on it though, but I'm not wavering. I still think this team's good. I don't care what the offense looked like last week. I think going forward it's going to be good. So I got the Saints. This Falcons team has looked good the last 2 weeks. I will say against two good teams. They had a shot to win that Kansas City game. But I think the Saints are going to be able to move the ball a little bit more on this defense. I know that they're dealing with some injuries on an already depleted offensive line, but I think they're going to be able to throw the ball around. I think they're going to be able to win on the defensive side of the ball too. And I think they're going to get a couple, maybe Kirk Cousins turnovers that turns this game. So I got the Saints.
Yeah, I mean the Falcons have had a turnover problem. That's definitely a thing, and the Saints will take advantage of those opportunities for sure. I don't know. I think this is a game I just didn't want to pick. I still don't have a team written down on my notes because I knew I was going to give it to you first because I think this could go either way. I think is it fair to say these are the two teams that are still like the biggest wild cards so far to start the year, or at least two of the biggest wild cards to start the year? Like, I wouldn't be shocked at all if either of these teams like win 11 games. I wouldn't be shocked at all if either of these teams miss the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I do feel the same way. And I mean, the Saints also looking like a Super Bowl team the first 2 weeks of the season
Hmm.
changes things a lot. But also, I think we may have to recalibrate that Cowboys game. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
But it's been impressive. It's been impressive when they've looked good. And I mean, they were right in that Eagles game. I think a couple different decisions goes in their favor too. Coaching decisions, especially, I think had to be a little bit better in that one that they could have done. But overall, I think it's going to be fine. I like the idea of the lock just because all I need is the win. But I do think it's too close to call. And this Falcons team still has a lot of firepower. I want to see more Drake London targets. I think that needs to uptick a little bit more. And I think that'll change a lot of this team.
It is a little funny how that's it's like they need to target Kyle Pitts and Drake London more. Like, what are we doing here? How is this still an
Yeah.
issue? Like, all this long into their careers.
I don't even need Kyle Pitts. I just want Drake London should get like double the target share of anybody else on this team. That's just my opinion. That being said, this Saints team also dealing with some offensive line injuries from last week. I don't know who's going to be healthy for this game, and that's going to be problematic against the Saints defense that, even with the loss last week, still looks pretty darn nasty.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think the Saints looked great last week, and the offensive line injuries do worry me. I think that the thing the Saints like to do is they take away other teams' number one receiver, right? They force other guys to beat you. I do wonder if we're going to get a lot of Bijan Robinson in this one again, which the Saints rush EPA has been eighth best in football so far. Again, only 3 week sample size, but Saints defense is designed to torture opposing quarterbacks. And, I got to say, as of right now, Derek Carr is playing better than Kirk Cousins is.
Yeah, 100%. So he had some bad luck in that game too, though. Like Rashid Shaheed dropped a touchdown pass, and I think he could have had better numbers than he did in week 3. But I think he's been very good this season. I think he's stepped up to the plate, and there was a lot of pressure on him this season, and I think he showed up.
Yeah, should be a fun game. As a Tampa Bay fan, I don't even know who I'm rooting for. I feel like both of these teams feel like I could see either one of them being real threats. I think that both will be.
Yeah, I mean, that division feels wide open now, doesn't it? I mean, we'll see again on the Panthers, obviously, but those 3 teams, I mean, they all look a little bit better at times than we thought.
And it feels more wide open in a different way than it has felt in years past.
Yeah, it is one of those things. I think all three of those teams can win 10 games realistically.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. Why don't we? Kyle, give me a game.
Any game that involves me thinking about picking the Tennessee Titans, I do not want to pick. So Titans at Dolphins.
Yeah, I have to say, I can't remember the last time. There's like legitimately 4 games on this that I'm just like, I don't know who I'm going to pick for this one. This is a tough week. Yeah, I have to pick the Titans. I have to. The Dolphins I don't even know who their quarterback is going to be this week. Like we saw how bad they looked last week. I have to pick the Titans. Titans do have talent. Both these teams have talent outside the quarterback position. I do still trust Will Levis more than whoever Miami's going to throw out there. But like, yeah, it's a scary thing picking Will Levis to win a football game. But yes, I'm picking the Titans.
Yeah. Is it an indictment? Is it an indictment on Mike McDaniel when we talk about the best offensive play callers in the league that he can't figure this out without Tua? When we've seen like Matt LaFleur turn Malik Willis into like Malik Willis is like 4th in EPA this season for quarterbacks. Like, is that, I guess, take the floor there. Is that an indictment?
Oh, a little bit. I mean, obviously it has to be said of like, okay, the Malik Willis thing is a exception. Like that's a very weird thing that usually doesn't happen. That can't be the expectation for when a starting quarterback goes down. I think that the Skylar Thompson, just him not being a very good backup, is a real question. I don't know, and not to mention, it feels like everyone. We always talk about Tua being having this. Keeps getting injured, but every single time a backup quarterback plays for the Dolphins, they're just immediately injured. I don't know what's going on there, but she's constantly having this revolving door. The talent hasn't been great. I think a little bit, but also, I don't know. I think that his scheme is designed to have a quarterback who can get rid of the football quickly and make good reads quickly. When you don't have a quarterback who can do that, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. Any faith in Tim Boyle this week?
No.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. I mean, I think of what we've seen these first few weeks, the Titans defense is going to eat this Dolphins offense alive, it feels like, especially with assuming either of these guys are the quarterbacks. Obviously, can Tyler Huntley play this week? Is that how it works? Like, he'd be the interesting one. But I don't know if it's going to be enough. I think the Titans defense is still the best unit of this team with the quarterback situation. So, yeah, I think I would have to lean that way, too, and that makes me feel gross.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Boyle versus this Titans defense, that scares me.
Yeah. Is this like – this feels like you can't put the ball in Will Levis's hand in this game, right? Like, you just have to run it every time. This is a field position game. Like, this is going to be old school 2004 football. Like, you just have to punt at the 40-yard line. You cannot be taking chances in this game.
I think so. Well, and when I think about Will Levis, I think doesn't take chances.
Yeah. You just have to – someone has to, like, strap him to a chair like Zoolander style and just get in his head. Do not throw the ball downfield. Just like
I think so. Which might be someone might just need to do that in general. Forget about this game.
Yeah. Just check down Will Levis this week. That's what we need.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how well that works. We don't spend forever on that game, Kyle. So now it's my turn to give you a game. And I'm glad this game fell because I also don't feel great about this one. Vikings at Packers. The surprising Vikings, who are 3-0, are underdogs against the Packers. We still don't know who's going to be quarterback for the Packers. Kyle, who do you have winning this one?
I'm not going to – another one I thought about locking, but I'm going to hold off again. Mainly because there is a chance Jordan Love plays, and that makes it a lot more complicated. But under the assumption that he won't play, I'm going to take the Vikings. This is a defensive league now. Defense is running football. I don't care what the haters say. Don't give me the analytics on this. This is a defensive league now. And you know what the best unit in defensive unit in the NFL is right now? The Minnesota Vikings. Brian Flores is the best coordinator in the league right now. Suck it, nerds. So Brian Flores is running football right now, and he's just destroying every one of your favorite offensive play callers. He destroyed Bobby Slowick. He's going to destroy Matt LaFleur here. Give me the Vikings. Give me this defense. Give me this pass rush. Give me this blitz scheme. Vikings. Let's go.
Okay. Well, I like the confidence. I like the suck it nerds out there. Also, that those are my takes, right? Like you're talking to me directly with that. But yeah. I mean, It's not unfair. I do think that, for one thing, we got to just talk about like the players on the Vikings defense is playing really well. Everyone talks about all
Yeah.
these no names. It's like, well, they're playing good, like Shaquille Griffin and Byron Murphy Jr. have done things in the past that has been well. Like Cameron Bynum and Harrison Smith have both been very good, safeties, and obviously Stephon Gilmore. But like, yeah, the scheme definitely can fool these types of coordinators. I am interested in LaFleur, who is there's a difference to what LaFleur does and what Shanahan does, even if there's a lot of similarities as well. So I am interested in, what LaFleur is going to do. LaFleur loves his screen passes and his, getting to the outside if he sees man coverage, if he sees blitzes. So this is a really interesting chess match on this side of the field. I do think, though, that if Malik Willis is there, he's going to be disrupted and things are going to go wrong at times. I don't like the Packers if Malik Willis plays in this one.
Yeah. I mean, look, he has been terrific these last 2 weeks. He really has. He's checked every box. He's done everything they need to do to win. But this just feels like a different level of pressure that he's going to face. And I don't trust him to make the right decisions in those situations. So I think he's done a very good job. But I think you kind of need an elite quarterback to beat this defense right now until proven otherwise. So that's where I'm just kind of leaning on the Vikings until I see that elite quarterback against them.
Yeah, which, I mean, maybe I don't know if I would say Jordan Love's an elite quarterback, but they could have a better quarterback, and that is the X factor. The flip side is that Kyle, also I think we have a Steelers fan upset. I'm assuming it was the wrong one. I'm assuming this is I once you said Vikings best defense, I've had a feeling Steelers fans wouldn't be too thrilled.
Don't
with
worry,
that one.
they're 1B. I'm gonna get to them in a second. We'll talk about it. Don't worry, I got you.
There's no 1B is still an insult. Steelers fans will not take anything other than the best.
I mean, statistically, right now the Vikings are 1. The Steelers have played very well equally.
EPA per play, Steelers are best right now. Depends on what stat you use.
I mean, this team has they have, what is it, 16 sacks in 3 weeks. They have a turnover every week. I mean, they're just wreaking. I mean, this is the destroyer of world's defense. This is like Galactus from Marvel. They're just eating Ertz. They're eating offenses for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is the destruction we've never seen before. If this were in Iraq, George Bush would invade it. This is
okay. All right. Well, let's keep on. Let's keep focused, Kyle. Things are getting off the rails. Let's try to get the Iraq War references out of here. Kyle, you know who else has been good defensively is the Packers. Packers are top 10 defensive EPA per play unit right now, which is not typically where they're at. So hey, who knew getting a new coordinator would help? Again, I think we're all kind of sitting here. The Sam Darnold thing is like a house of cards right now, and we can't tell if it's glued or not. Like, we don't know, like, is it going to all come tumbling down, or is this legitimately just a well-built structure that doesn't look well-built? Because we've seen Darnold do this before. We've seen Darnold play 3 good games with the Panthers. They were 3-0, and then he fell off a cliff. I don't think it's going to happen, but this is just another question mark here with the Vikings, who, like, I think, I can't definitively say one way or the other.
Yeah. I think my one worry is that they have been they've been marginally worse against the pass than the run. Like, they've fixed the run defense, and that was their biggest problem the last couple of seasons. They were just getting torched on the ground. And they hadn't been that good against the pass either, to be fair. So they weren't good at anything, but I do think that's been part of it. And part of me thinks, like, with now elite quarterback Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson, like, is Minnesota going to be able to take their shots here? I mean, this is a good passing attack for Minnesota too, even beyond just the defensive side. Like, not only Justin Jefferson, like Aaron Jones is involved in the pass game, which was always kind of a good asset with him with Green Bay. I mean, they've got some weapons on this team too. So that is also going to be an interesting matchup. How Minnesota is able to, I mean, Minnesota's been doing a lot of the similar stuff where, they're not putting Darnold in a lot of high risk situations. It's a lot of play action pass. And that's usually the safest bet for your quarterback. And how can he continue to make those throws if they're in tough situations?
Yeah. Vikings have been very good. I think I'm with you. I think I would also pick the Vikings to win. I'm surprised the Packers are favored. Kyle, give me a game.
Browns at Raiders.
Yeah. Next on my list as well. This is kind of, I think these 4 were the top 4 pretty easily for me. Again, I kind of the reason why I decided not to give myself the Titans, or I let myself pick the Titans and let myself pick the Raiders is like, I just feel like the Raiders are the team I should pick. Like that just feels like correct. The Browns have looked abysmal. The Raiders have also been, and both these teams have been very underwhelming to start the year, despite the fact that the Raiders have one of the more impressive wins of the season, beating the Ravens. I mean, obviously that was tough. I think a Ravens player even came out and said, like, yeah, we thought we were going to win last week. We came in like we thought we were going to win. And then we got like, you usually don't actually hear people say that. You think it might happen. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This Browns offense just looks so inept. I know the Raiders defense kind of got torched last week, but the Browns don't have Andy Dalton on their roster. So give me the Raiders.
You picked the Raiders? That's what you said? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. I don't know. This one and the Titans game were my top two because I don't want to pick any of these four teams to win specifically. And this is another icky one. There were some really bad vibes for the Raiders last week. I mean, honestly, 2 of their 3 weeks. Like they had their coach already calling the team out for like preparation. Like that's not a great sign. And then I mean the Browns, I mean, they kind of just look dead. I mean, it's so hard. Like I still feel like the Browns defense still has the higher upside play here, and that's kind of where I'm leaning. But I also think like with the Browns being so hit or miss, like we saw what the Giants did to them in the first half of that game. Like, is that crazy to say Minshew is able to throw the ball around on this team, right? Like with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, the stuff they do in the passing game. Brock Bowers has been really good too the first couple weeks. So like having those 3 weapons in the passing game, like they could have success too.
Yeah. I mean, and again, right now, weirdly, I trust Gardner Minshew to make less mistakes, who, is kind of hanging on to that starting job, not by a thread, it seems like. But there's that. Myles Garrett is banged up. I think he said he wants to play through the injury, but if he's not 100%, I'm sure he can still be impactful, but can he be as dominant? And, when both these teams have their elite edge rusher, I mean, for the Browns, this tackle situation's been tough with the injuries they have. Like Max Crosby could cause a lot of damage in this one.
Yeah. Not only have they like been injured, but like they came back and then got re-injured. Like it's just been terrible luck for those two, right? Willis and Jack Conklin. So they haven't caught a lot of breaks there. So it's going to be very interesting because, yeah, I mean, that is definitely the factor. Like if Garrett doesn't play and those tackles don't play, I'm definitely leaning Raiders. And I feel pretty good about that. But I also think if those guys play, then, I mean, this also feels like it could be 50-50.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a gross game. This is not one that I'm going to be watching every snap of on Sunday. I'm going to watch it probably on like Wednesday night.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, and then once again, like my other fear, like the Raiders just have abandoned the run game for a team that isn't that good throwing the ball. So like, I know I just said that they could, but I just feel like they look very easy to defend, even though they did it against the Ravens in week 2. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Let's move on, Kyle. So that was my game to pick. Now it's my turn to give you a game. Well, I'm going to give you my team. Eagles at Buccaneers. Who do you got?
Yeah, this was next on my list. I am gonna go with the Eagles.
How dare you?
I know. I mean, look, on paper, I should just continually. It feels like every week I look at the Eagles game on paper and say like I should pick this team on paper, but then I like think about it and I'm like I'm not sure how much I actually want to pick this team. Jalen Hurts has had some very shaky moments. I feel like through the first 3 weeks of the season, some very good moments, but some shaky moments. I don't know if AJ Brown's still going to play, and that's even more worrisome because I did the whole rant on Sunday. I think this is a completely different offense when AJ Brown doesn't play. He's one of those few receivers that kind of changes the entire context of an offense, and that gives me some worry. But I just think there's still a little bit more talent, and they're going to be able to do just enough. And I think the defense played a little bit better last week, and they're not going to let, Baker and this offense hit some big plays in the passing game. So I'm going to lean with the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, the health of the Eagles receivers to me is the big deal. I think, honestly, for Tampa Bay, they have a lot of guys where it's how healthy are they going to be? But I mean, we saw in the playoff game last year, a huge part of that game was the fact that the Eagles just didn't have AJ Brown. and Tampa Bay was kind of just able to man up against them. Now, Tampa Bay has a lot less players now than they did in that game as well, but I think that you also factor in Devonta Smith is banged up right now. So there's a chance neither of those guys play in this game. And if that's the case, you have to pick Tampa Bay. There's also a chance they both play. And if that's the case, you have to pick Philadelphia. I really think it comes down to those two guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, there are a lot of, injury questions on both sides of the ball, Tampa Bay defense specifically and at right tackle. So, yeah, I mean, I think it could go either way. I agree with you. This is another game I didn't love, but I don't know, man. Like, I have to hope one of those guys plays for Philadelphia at least, right? And if AJ Brown does play, I feel pretty good about Philadelphia given the Tampa Bay injury situation in the secondary.
Yeah, Kyle, I mean, you look at the currently Jahan Dotson has had 151 snaps this season. Johnny Wilson has had 52 snaps. That's too many snaps for these guys.
It's not great. There's not a lot of depth. I mean, this was talked about. I mean, obviously, Goddard stepping up the way that he did last week kind of saved them because they don't win that game without him. And he's going to have another big week if those guys aren't ready to go. And that's a little problematic, I think. Him and Barkley have been huge for this team, it feels like at this point. And then if they get their top two guys back, I feel good about it. But it's just like, we need those guys on the field because like this is a bottom tier. This is a lower tier offense, I think, when those guys aren't out there.
Yeah, and I mean, you do have two. I mean, Lavonte David, as good as he is, he can't cover two guys. So having a great tight end and a great running back does do some good stuff there. For the other side of the ball, someone says, "Hey Jackson, should I start Godwin this week?" I have no idea. Fantasy, I can't figure this out. Right? Fantasy is the weirdest thing in the world to me because it always just comes down to who picked like the best, like a running back who isn't even good but gets a ton of carries for Washington or whatever.
Yeah. I did start him last week, and I'm probably going to start him again this week because Cooper Kupp's hurt. But he's been good. I mean, he is the factor for this team that I think could be big because, like I said, Vic Fangio's defense, they're not going to let Mike Williams, I think. I mean, he's still great enough that he can hit those big plays on his own. But they're gonna be playing deep. They're going to keep those safeties over the top. They're not going to let Mike Evans. They're going to try and not let Mike Evans hit those big plays. And Godwin's the guy that works over the middle on this offense, which is kind of where you want to attack this Philly defense too.
Yeah, if you also remember last year, the Eagles, they played twice. They played in the regular season as well. The Eagles played sort of a two safety deep coverage. Tampa Bay wasn't able to do much. I think that could happen again. I think that, once in the playoffs, it was Matt Patricia, and he's like, let's blitz this team, which was a dumb thing to do. Matt Patricia, not a great defensive coordinator, in my opinion. Zachary Stewart with a super chat, over under 3.5 questionable coaching decisions by Nick Sirianni in this game. I had under 3.5. That's a very high number, Zachary.
Under 3.5, but for Eagles fans, it'll be over.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. If the Eagles subreddit will be mad at about a dozen.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting, though. Like you said, playoff rematch. These two teams, it feels like have some like random history over the last couple of years. Obviously, part of it was with Brady, but like I think this is a very interesting matchup with these two.
Oh yeah, and they have back in the early 2000s, they had a ton of history then with the whole Rondé Barber shutting down the vet thing, the Buccaneers losing multiple times to the Eagles in the playoffs. There's weirdly history between these two teams, so it should be a fun game.
Big rival cities, the Cuban versus the Philly cheesesteak, Tampa versus Philly.
Yeah, exactly. I think with all due respect to the Cuban, I don't think we have that 1-1.
I would say no.
Yeah.
Although I will say the Chicago Italian beef sandwich is much better than a Philly. Hot take.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. Hopefully the chat doesn't get too mad at that hot take. Kyle, give me a game.
All right. Let's get these gross games out of the way. I'm sick of talking about these. Let's go to the marquee game of the week. Bills at Ravens.
Bills at Ravens. I'm locking it up. Give me the Buffalo Bills. I can't believe the Bills are underdogs right now. If I get a chance to lock up the Bills just having to win, Kyle, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, this feels really good right now, right? The way they've played. Leaves are turning, though. It's almost fall. Is this a change? I just talked about we are always quick to crown the September Super Bowl champs. Could that change this week? I do feel pretty good about it. I kind of agree with you. I think this is a good lock, but the Ravens are tricky. Lamar Jackson's tricky. I think Derrick Henry's obviously tricky. Can they beat this Buffalo front four? I think that's going to be the key in this game. But something that we talked about last week, and I think have to continue talking about, you know, I think there's a recalibration needed for this Ravens defense because they've not covered the pass very well. And usually we just give the Ravens the benefit of the doubt, say the Ravens are the Ravens. They cover everybody. They're always a good secondary. And I think the worry is that Josh Allen would kind of dominate this game, which he can, faithfully, honestly dominate anybody in the league, but especially a defense that's not playing well.
Yeah, it's a weird line, right? Like I don't know what do the Ravens do better than the Bills right now. I can't really think of anything. I mean, I maybe run the ball, but even I mean, I guess with the quarterback they run the ball, but that's not a huge gap. I mean, the Bills run the ball very effectively, and with Josh Allen, they can get the big plays when they need to as well. So like, I mean, I think that as much as I like Lamar. I just feel like there's more he's going to have to do in the game. I think both teams, I think the Bills are going to cover very well. I don't think the Ravens receivers can get open as well. I like Isaiah Likely a lot, but he'll have to have a huge game. I think there still is upset potential. And, Allen is the kind of guy where he'll give you a chance or two a game to get a turnover. If you can pull those off, like that could be a difference. But, it's not like the Ravens never turn the ball over either. So, that's kind of I'm confused by this. I feel like the Bills should be able to cover really well. They should be able to get pressure quickly. Lamar's Lamar. He's still going to get points, but Josh Allen's Josh Allen. He's going to get points and he's in a better situation.
I think the questions you would have to ask, I mean, I agree with everything you said. Statistically on paper, what we've seen this season, the Bills should be favored in this game. But it is a Sunday night in Baltimore. It's probably a game that they've had circled on the calendar since week 1. These are the two big games of the first month of the season. So you could say that. I think you could also say, I think the Bills secondary has been very good. And the Bills secondary, I think, has done a lot of good work because the front four is also getting a ton of pressure. And there's just the aspect of Lamar where he's really hard to bring down, right? Can this team continue to cover really well when it's like 3.5, 4 seconds instead of 2.5 seconds? I think that is something that goes a long way too. So I think some of that stuff has to be put into the play. We saw kind of the strength of what the Derrick Henry. It seemed like they really started to flex that Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry thing. Running that kind of read option setup with them a lot more last week. So that's another aspect. I mean, there are a few things I think that the Baltimore has in its pocket, and they're still a very good team in my mind. I know that they started 0-2, but it's by no means like a slam dunk either way, but I do think Buffalo should be favored.
If you're the Bills and you find yourself, you're down 24-20, there's like 9 minutes left. You just throw a quick pick six just to help yourself out, get the double-digit fourth quarter deficit, so that way you can try and beat the Ravens that way.
Yeah, that's the best way to beat them, right? Just get down by double digits, come back and win. Easy.
I think so. No, I mean, to be clear, I think the Ravens can win this game. There is enough pieces here. I think their defense could get better, and they still do have defensive players that I still like Justin Matabuke and Marlon Humphrey. It's just I can't feel great about. I can't look at these two rosters and say the Ravens should be favored. I don't care if it's a Sunday night game in Baltimore. The Bills should be favored, in my opinion.
Yeah, and even just looking at the tape, right? The tape has told the story so far this season.
Yeah, but it could backfire. Just want to make it clear that I'm not. What I'm confident in is that the Bills should be favored. What I'm not confident in is that the Bills will win because you have Lamar Jackson. You always have a puncher's chance.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. This is a good lock, though. I agree with you. It feels like you're getting a few points here for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Oh, now you're just trying to jinx me.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong, indeed. Kyle, let's talk some balls. Coming off their big win, 3.5-point underdogs against the Arizona Cardinals. These are two teams that are better than we thought they'd be. I think these are two teams that could be playoff teams. This game could, I know it's still week 4, but we could look back down the line and say this was the game that decided the playoff between these two teams. I don't think that's crazy to say, as crazy as it would have sounded a month ago. Who do you have winning?
This one's really tough for me. This was next on my list. I've been going back and forth on it. I'm going to pick the Cardinals. And that feels crazy because the Balls just had an amazing football game. Like you said, they haven't had to punt in 2 weeks, all that kind of stuff. I don't think either of these teams can stop each other, to be honest. And as good as the Bengals are, like this Washington defense is pretty pitiful.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting a big Jamar Chase bounce back game, and he got it against a rather weak defense. And you know, it's just not much of a matchup there. I think there's too many problems with that defense, and I think the Cardinals are going to be able to match Jaden Daniels in this fun balls offense. This is going to be probably the most watchable game. I'm looking forward to watching this game 100%. I think it's going to be awesome, but I just think that there's just too much firepower with Arizona, and I think it's going to come down to the last possession, and I'm going to lean the home team.
Yeah, I just think what it comes down to, I think Washington could win this. And great, I mean, this is probably the 4 o'clock slate right now. It's Patriots 49ers. That game will be over by midway through the first quarter. Chiefs
Patriots
Chargers
will be winning by so much, right?
Right, exactly. Chiefs Chargers might not be great either. Browns Raiders is an ugly game. This game, I mean, we're going to be watching all of this one at the 4 o'clock window.
Yeah. If you're watching the Browns Raiders over this game, you hate yourself. Go to therapy. That's all I gotta say.
Even if you're a Browns Raiders fan, like you probably hate yourself.
Yeah, still go to therapy.
Yeah, I think for a lot of reasons in that scenario. No, I agree. Should be an awesome game. 2 electric quarterbacks to watch. What just comes down to for me is like I trust both of these offenses, but like this Washington defense looks horrible. The Arizona Cardinals defense, it's just like
Yeah, it's better than I expected.
But like it's not like it is top 10. Or not, it's offense. That makes sense. Yeah, not top 10, but it's not. It's doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they'd be down there with Washington at this point in the season. They're still below average, but like, they've played better, and I think I just have to lean on that a little bit. And that was an emotional Washington win. They're coming off a short week too, having to travel across the country. All that put together, I just think it's like this just feels like a letdown loss, but I don't think it's a letdown loss for real because I think this Washington or Arizona team actually is pretty good, as we've said before on this podcast, and like. As equally good as Jamar Chase was amazing last week, and I think Marvin Harrison Jr. can do a lot of the same stuff. I mean, he's been. This is the 2 most electric rookies so far this season. With all due respect to Malik Neighbors, who's also been very good.
Yeah, no, I agree, Kyle. The Washington's drop back EPA per play. So the second worst is the Rams, and theirs is very bad. Theirs is a huge jump from third worst, which is 0.373. Washington is at an even half a point per play pass defense wise. So on average, the opposing team is getting half a point every time they throw the ball against this Washington defense.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. And not to mention, you just think like there's going to be plays where they have to cover, for Kyler Murray for like 6-7 seconds because he just never gets sacked. And that just feels like a disaster. Such a disaster. I mean, it's not even just the fact that they don't have good coverage players. They also don't pass rush well. Like they just don't really have a lot of pieces there outside. Like I think they have a pretty decent defensive tackle, but that's about it.
Yeah, no, it's been an issue. Zachary Stewart with the super chat. I'm a Commanders fan. Don't look now, but we haven't turned the ball over this whole season. Oh, you jinxed them, Zachary.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, you got to go over. I mean, you. It's been great. I'm not worried about the turnovers. I was reading the wrong chat comment.
Yeah, it's funny. You responded verbally to one of the chats.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not worried about the turnover aspect. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be good in this game. I just think that he's meeting a very equally good offense with a much worse defense.
Yeah, that's it. And we have Overlap 618 with a super chat. It's Overlap back again with Overlap's picks. Jackson, the Ernest movie review was fantastic. How do I email and pay you for more? We need Hocus Pocus reviewed, and I have some more. Drop your email. We'll maybe leave a comment on the movie channel Overlap. Let's do it that way. But thank you for the super chat again, Kyle. This is great for you because you don't do any of the work and you still get half the money for the super chats.
I know. Good stuff for me. Hey, it's Halloween time. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Right. Kyle, let's move on. Still have
I have one more question.
Oh,
I had one more question about this. Can you see the Balls winning the NFC East?
It's not crazy. I still think this defense just is going to, unless they need to figure out the defense. They need to make that at least get to okay if they're going to win a division.
Yeah. I think the defense will hold them back too much. Can they make? They can make a wild card spot though. Like you said, you can see either of these teams making the playoffs, but it does feel like just a little too tough to say that they're gonna beat the Eagles or the Cowboys in a division race with this defense. Maybe just the Eagles. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles are going to win. Like, I think they're still like a 10-win team.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not crazy to say this team wins 10 games, right? They already got 2.
Yeah, it's not crazy. You're right. I still feel like I think they have a puncher's chance, but I think that I would say that I like the Eagles more.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this is a good game. This is my second favorite game of the week, besides the Sunday night one.
And besides the Patriots one.
No, this is my second favorite game of the week.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Kyle, give me a game.
Let's go Rams at Bears.
Rams, Bears. Yeah. So the kind of a rematch of that. What was it? A Sunday night game a handful of years ago when Jared Goff looked poor against the Matt Nagy Bears defense. So rematch. The Rams looking for their revenge with basically entirely new personnel. Again, the Bears are. I forgot to put the banner up, but the Bears are favored. This is another weird line for me. I don't fully get why the Bears are favoring this one, but yeah, give me the Rams.
Yeah, they turned it on last week, and I guess the argument you'd say is like the Bears defense has played very well this season, and like if they're able to take away the Tutu Atwell plays and the Kyron Williams moments and stuff like that, like how much. There's not much left for Matthew Stafford to work with at that point. So that would be the argument. And once again, like it still was poor, but we saw baby steps forward for Caleb Williams. So like there was at least touchdowns. That's a step forward at least. And I think there were some better throws, even though there was some mixed in some equally bad throws. So he's going against another defense that hasn't played particularly great this season. Their pass rush has really struggled, and maybe he has a little bit more time, or I shouldn't say more time to throw. Maybe he doesn't feel the pressure as much because he's bailing out of that pocket way too quickly and running himself into a lot of sacks and negative plays. So maybe those are the aspects that talk yourself into the Bears. This defense is probably the best unit of this game right now, but I think it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, well, if Caleb Williams here, like, it's a problem.
If he what?
If he struggles in this one, it's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to like write off a rookie quarterback, but sooner or later you can't give him the benefit of the doubt. There has to be development. And I think like I said, I thought last week we saw a little bit, but that Colts defense also has stunk this season. So, that was kind of the expectation was he would play better because that defense hasn't played well. This defense has played a little bit better than the Colts, but still has a lot of issues in personnel aspect and, lost Aaron Donald. So he should be able to have some time. He should be able to move the ball, and he shouldn't feel like he needs to force things and, run around and do all that stuff. He's got to be able to stand in the pocket and make some throws.
Yeah, or at least start hitting some of these, again, like kind of we talked about last time, like at least hit some of these crazy circus throws. Like that's fine too, but you got to hit them.
Yeah, the downfield passing has been like I think that's the most surprising thing to me. And I think it's part of the reason why I just think he's rattled because like of all the things like in college, like his downfield passing was terrific. Yeah. And like it seemed like it was always on the money. And like he throws these balls downfield that are like 20 yards off. Like they're not even close to people. And that's the kind of thing I'm worried about. Yeah.
On the flip side, Bears should be able to in this game. I mean, the Rams beat up offensive line has been by far worst in football to start the year. I don't know if I would say the Bears are the pass rush unit, but they do have guys. Montez Sweat's very good. This could be that could be their key to success. The defense is very good, and I think the way you win is you stay strong and hope Caleb Williams doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the way they have to win now. They did that in week 1, and the other quarterback made plenty of turnovers to help. Matthew Stafford's not going to make those same kind of mistakes as Will Levis. Hot take, I know. But yeah, I mean it's going to be a tough matchup, I think for sure. And I think that there is I don't know, like it's just tough. Like there is a huge quarterback disparity right now that between these two teams, and that's the thing that you kind of lean Rams.
Yeah, and that's why I just have to pick the Rams. Is I just again, if our thought is okay, week one is the way that we can win. If you're a Bears fan, they got a insane pick six and also a punt return, punt block touchdown in that game. Like that's basically four that due to unforced errors. That's not going to happen in this game, probably.
Yeah, I don't imagine so. And Will Levis made more mistakes on top of that too. So
yeah,
it's a tough road to climb right now. We got to see something out of the offense before we can confidently pick them.
All right. Well, Kyle, my turn to give you a game. I'm going a Monday night game. Seahawks,
Lions. Yeah. Give me the Lions. I feel pretty good about this. I mean, the Seahawks have played very well this season. They've done very well. They've done some very good stuff. I think the defense is playing really well. I think part of that is also who they've played. So I think that adds to it. But that being said, they've done very well, and they are 3-0 for a reason. Although we continue to say it hasn't exactly looked convincing at times. So we'll see. This is a much bigger test for them. And I think the Lions, just on paper, are a better team, even though I haven't been overly impressed with some of their wins. So yeah, I think there are some questions here, and I'll take the Lions.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the Seahawks beat the Lions last year. That was a crazy high scoring game. I don't know. It is weird where I feel both these teams record wise are very good. The Lions, of course, have kind of. I mean, it still is the Jared Goff thing for me with the Lions. I thought everything else has been good. Last week he was much better, but still had a couple bad plays. One of them was called back due to the it being the 2-minute warning. Another was just a turnover. So that's tough. I do think the Seahawks have been playing good football. Geno Smith has been playing good football. They have a good offense. It's a real test for this Lions defense. It does look better.
Yeah, Geno has played very well, and they've been able to hit the big plays with DK Metcalf. That's kind of what's carried the Seahawks team, it feels like, the last few weeks. But they've been tested against teams I don't think they should have been tested against, too. So
yeah,
I think that's also just part of the problem why I'm so unconvinced. Like, this just feels like a different caliber of opponent. Like you said, they did beat them last year, but I expect this Lions defense to play a lot better than they did last season. And, as much as I think, like, Geno could do very well, I just don't know if it's going to be enough.
The other thing, too, is with this new look Seahawks defense, part of me does wonder a little bit, could this be another defense likes to fool quarterbacks? Could we see another kind of one of those Jared Goff of having to make post-snap reads, not being in his comfort zone?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that was my dog. I said hi, Luna. She just popped her head up in my background.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think. I mean, that's the one thing with this Mike McDonald defense is we expected the secondary to be much better, and it's played much better. So I do think it is kudos to him for that. I think they have played much better, and yeah, I mean, there is a chance definitely that they cause some problems for this Lions offense, and it forces them into mistakes. So it eventually we're gonna have to see the version of Jared Goff we saw last season. Otherwise, like, we have to reevaluate if this team's a Super Bowl team. That being said, like, we've seen a lot of unconvincing play in the NFC right now, outside of the Minnesota Vikings, who are a wagon and should be feared. Outside of that, like, we've seen some inconvincing teams in the NFC. So, like, they have to play better for sure.
Yeah. Kyle, I am picking the Lions to win. One final point that, you know how I love to do this. Doesn't it kind of feel like both these teams being 3-1 feels right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I feel like the Seahawks being 4-0 and the Lions being 2-2. That doesn't feel as right. I think both teams feel like 3-1 teams. That feels like, yeah, like they've been very good. Maybe have some issues.
What about the Lions being 2-2 and the 49ers being 2-2?
Well, I mean, at this point, the 49ers have to hope for that, right? Yeah, they're 1-2, right?
Yeah, I don't think they have to hope a whole lot this week.
Okay, yeah, maybe not. Hey, would you dye your hair if the Patriots win?
No, I'm done dyeing my hair.
Well, let's move on, Kyle. Give me a game.
Let's go Cowboys Giants.
Okay, so I know who you're locking up now. I'm convinced I figured out who you locked up. This wasn't intentional. I didn't try to do this, but I now know which game to not give you until the end. Cowboys Giants. I am picking the Cowboys to win. Yes, I'm a very harsh critic of the Cowboys. I think their defense will be fine in this game because they're playing the Giants. I do think Malik Neighbors could get some big plays. That's possible. It's a Thursday night game, which, Kyle, this is kind of the first Thursday night game I'm like, I don't need to pay that close of attention to. Usually I'm making sure I'm watching, getting videos out. This is one I think I can miss, especially with the hurricane coming through, although it shouldn't hit Orlando too hard. But, I think I feel okay with that. I think the Cowboys, this should be a get-right game for them.
Yeah. If they lose this game, then all panic meters are on. This is the team they've kind of had their way with, especially the last few seasons, just with the nature of their pass rush against this Giants offensive line, with, the indecisiveness of the Giants quarterbacks, that kind of thing. They've kind of kicked this team's ass the last few seasons. So I think this is a huge panic meter game for Dallas if things go wrong. That being said, things should go right. Things honestly should go right. So I'm not overly worried with Dallas in this game. I agree with everything you said. Like they have to get this right.
Yeah, and the way that the way the Giants win, right? It is just they're going to target Malik Neighbors. But I feel like for the Cowboys, one of the weird things with the Browns last week was they just were leaving Malik Neighbors one-on-one, which is one of the most baffling things for a guy that's getting by far and away targets in the NFL. You have to think Dallas is just going to double team Malik Neighbors and they'll be fine.
At this point, you have to, right? That's the only thing they're doing. It's that and Devin Singletary getting handoffs. That's the entire offense. So yeah, I think they have to. They have to take him away in this game, or at least attempt to, and then make somebody else beat you. The pathway for the Giants to win this game probably looks a lot like that Browns game last week, right? Where they get a couple turnover breaks and they do it. But I still trust Dak Prescott much more than Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I think that for all the faults of even this Cowboys offense so far, I still think it's okay. I don't know if it'll be good enough to make up for the faults of their defense. Will be said, and I know it hasn't been great to start the year, but I think in this game I trust them.
Yeah, no, I think I trust them in this game too. This just feels like a very easy game plan for Dallas, and they do have the personnel to do this.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on then. Kyle, my turn to give you a game. I'm not going to give you Steelers Colts because that's what you're locking. I'm going to give you.
But what if I'm wrong? What if I get it wrong? Then I lose 2 points.
True. But I don't want you to lock up that, or I'll give it to you later, maybe. Right now, I'm giving you Bengals Panthers.
Yeah, Bengals.
Not concerned at all about Andy Dalton.
Yeah, this was another game I was thinking about locking up, to be honest. But I'm going to hang on to my convictions here. This feels like I'm getting too many points as an overreaction. This just feels like Bengals by a touchdown. That being said, the Panthers did play very well last week. The Red Rifle resurgence was real. We'll see if it continues. I'm not ready to just say Andy Dalton's now a great quarterback. I think he played very well. And it was very funny, at least for a week. So yeah, I thought it was a good performance from the Panthers. I thought they did some really good things, but I think the Bengals offense is still too much for them to contain.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think again, smart money should be on the Bengals, but it is just this Bengals defense has looked really bad. Andy Dalton looked really good last week. We say it the Bengals aren't going to lose to the Panthers. Well, they've lost to Washington and New England so far.
Yeah. Yeah. They certainly know how to mess around and find out, right? They've done it before and they can do it again. And the Panthers did show a lot of signs of life. So, absolutely. It's possible. I'm just not we said it with the Jaguars too. If they lose this game, we're on Zach Taylor watch now too, right? This has to be a conversation.
No, it's this Bengal. We should be, but the Bengals aren't going to Zach Taylor, especially not mid-season.
What are you trying to do then? Why even pay Joe Burrow? Why pay Jamar Chase? Trade Jamar Chase in the offseason then.
It's just not what they. Marvin Lewis got 16 years.
Yeah, but at least Marvin Lewis was consistently making the playoffs. Not consistently. He made the playoffs a few times. He was around,
Yeah,
I just had to keep I had to keep walking that back. I'm like, he didn't always make the playoffs.
Yeah, you're like, he went from because this make the playoffs. Well, no, but they were all right. Well, no, but he was there. He was on the team. He was on the sidelines. He never missed a game. Never
Listen,
no call, no
that
show.
team, he had he was employing the John Kitnas, all those guys for all those years till Andy Dalton. Like, if you have Joe Burrow and you're not performing up to standards, I know Burrow got hurt last season, but if you're not winning games with Joe Burrow, then at that point your coach has to be like, you have to be serious about this. Like, I don't care how cheap the ownership has been in the past. Like, at that point, you're just not a serious franchise, and I would never pick you to win a Super Bowl because you just don't care. You don't care. You're there to cash checks. That's all that matters to you. That's bad ownership. That's my opinion. And maybe they are bad owners. That's it.
I mean, I think like that's not a horrible take, but like I think they would say, okay, sure. Anyway, where do I get my check?
Yeah, I mean that's very much probably the possibility.
Mm-hmm. It's been a well-established fact. There are 31 teams who do. I guess there are 30 teams who do things mostly similar. There's the Packers who don't have an owner, and then there's the Bengals who do things their own weird way. Like that's how this works.
Or the Steelers who just never need to make changes because they do everything right.
Right? Yeah, they're on the other end of the spectrum. Yeah, exactly. Kyle, I think we covered that game. Want to move on?
Yeah. No, I feel good about it. Let's go. Oh, jeez. I guess Jaguars Texans.
Yeah, this was next to my list as well. Just because, like, maybe the Texans have looked a little underwhelming to start the year. Like, they have had competitive games against not great teams. And is there hope that this Jaguars defense can turn it around after last week? Can Lawrence turn it around a bit? Has had a tough schedule to start the year. The Jaguars have, but still, no, I'm picking Houston, and I'm probably picking Houston with points as well.
Yeah. I just don't see how you could watch that team on Monday night and say like, oh yeah, they'll bounce back. I don't know the pathway to them losing by 7 in this game. That being said, like, they still have enough talent, and Texans, as we said, up until getting punched in the mouth last week, maybe it's the wake up call they needed. They have kind of another team that's kind of messed around, and they didn't really have to find out the first couple weeks, but they've kept bad teams in close games for no reason.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, can we just get some signs of light from Jacksonville here? Like that's what all you're hoping for as a Jaguars fan.
Yeah, I'm not overly optimistic, to be honest.
No,
I think it's over. I just do.
Would you get rid of Peterson if they lose this game, get blown out? Are you firing Doug Peterson and hiring Bill Belichick?
I would probably start looking to the bye week to start cleaning out my office. Honestly, like that's
when is their bye? What is their bye week for the Jaguars? Let me look that up. Because I agree. I think this is they're in the conversation. I think they have a bit of a late bye week, so I think they might have to do it before the bye week.
Yeah, I just like this defense has talent too, and that's not even playing well. Like I just don't know what you look at this Jacksonville team and be like Brian Thomas is probably the bright spot of the season. He's been good, but even then, like the offensive line hasn't played well. Your quarterback, who you just paid a bunch of money, hasn't played well. There really hasn't been a lot of optimism here.
Yeah, I agree. Their bye week's late November, so I think I could see them going before bye week.
Yeah, fired by Halloween would be rough in the NFL.
Yeah, it's happened before though. I mean, again, with how rough of a start this has been, I mean, it's tough. Yeah,
I think if they're blown out, it's going to be in consideration for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kyle, your dad might be onto something.
If they hire Bill Belichick before the season ends, that'll be crazy.
We'd have to get your dad on the show like every week just to hear his because he clearly knows something.
Yeah, he's got the sources probably.
Kyle, let's move on. I'm going to give you Chiefs Chargers.
Yeah, Chiefs. So I'm assuming this line is under the pretense that Justin Herbert is not playing. Like, I don't think Justin Herbert playing this would be this close of a game. The Chargers have given the Chiefs, they've been, the Chargers never win the game, it feels like, but they've always been the thorn in the side for Kansas City to make games really close. And Kansas City has equally not blown a lot of teams out lately. So that is the factors that are at play here. That being said, Chiefs have too much talent. One thing that I think is interesting, like, they're a specific type of player usually gives the Chiefs issues. And that type of player is Derwin James, who's not playing in this game. That has been now much talked about, overly talked
Mhm.
about, honestly, as the NFL favoring the Chiefs again for some reason. But he's not playing again in this one. He's not playing in this one. And then I don't think Justin Herbert's playing either. So, I mean, if Justin Herbert's not playing, then Chiefs minus 8.5. I would probably take Chiefs by 2 touchdowns because I just don't think they got it. Taylor Heineke is not going to be able to do it. This defense is too good for Kansas City. So, yeah, give me KC.
Yeah, I hear you. I do love the conspiracy theory that Derwin James was suspended because he's playing the Chiefs next week, and that's the like guys. If they wanted to rig things for the Chiefs, they could do it in subtler ways than this. I don't think you don't need to. This isn't the game you need to rig for the Chiefs. I think you can let the Chiefs handle this one on their own. I think you're all right here. I agree. I mean, I gave you this game just because it's divisional matchups. Sometimes those get wonky. So I figured that's because I feel like all these games I feel pretty confident about. Yeah, I mean you need Heineke to play well this one. They're gonna run the ball a lot. That is maybe the one way you could see them win, although Joe Alt got banged up, so that sucks. But like if you can run the ball a lot and try to, limit possessions, make this an 8-possession game. Mahomes has been football to start this year. If you can win the turnover battle, make it an 8-possession game. I still think they lose, but there's at least hope there.
Yeah. Don't worry, Jim Harbaugh will run the ball.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
right, that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like I think they will go in with the correct strategy, whether it's because they know they're underdogs or not.
Yeah. So I guess this game is much more interesting if Justin Herbert plays, obviously, because he's just like this isn't a competitive team without him. If Justin Herbert plays, we've talked a lot about these Kansas City outside corners, and they've been a little shaky at times. It feels like to start this season, they've been okay at times, and then they've been shaky, but they haven't been overly tested. It feels like obviously that Baltimore game, that's just a different offense. They weren't really tested, and they played well in that game. Like Los Angeles has been able to drop a lot of stuff through their run and play action stuff, right? And they've been able to drop some big Quentin Johnson plays, who's had a very strong start of the season, limited catches, but he's making the most of them, right? So that is probably the pathway you're looking for. Run, play action, hit the big play with Quentin Johnson on this outside against these corners who are still kind of inexperienced, and then hope for the best. But it still requires you to get enough stops, and I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. How are you considering changing your pick to the Chargers and locking it up?
No, I'm not. Do you care at all about the Travis Kelce stuff? There's been a lot of Travis Kelce talk this week.
Well, we're talking just stuff, right? Where nothing happened other than that.
Yeah, just on the field, performance and lack of performance, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Kyle, there was all this talk last year, he didn't look right. He was PFF's number 2 rated tight end last year. Now he's not. Now he's in the 30s. He has taken a step back. He does not look like the same guy right now. He has not been the same game wrecker. The issue is he's still a solid role player, and now Rashee Rice is Travis Kelce. So they've just flipped their roles. So you're fine.
Yeah. I will say, I do think he's blocked very well this season at times. I don't know what the grading is, but I've seen some very nice blocks from him this season. But
that doesn't. I mean, they don't care about that at all. That means nothing.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's just I don't know. It is definitely tough. I don't know. I'm not really thinking anything about it yet. I do feel like it has a lot of 2021 Gronk vibes, where they're just gonna wait for the big games to deploy Kelce. But he also had a huge drop in the game that could have lost him the game last week. He's had bad moments. Not just they're not targeting him. He's had misses that have nearly cost him the game.
Yeah, no. Listen. Every team would like to have Travis Kelce on their roster, but he's more last year than he has been through 3 games this year.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, let's. So I'll just mention this, Kyle. This is so if you're not locking this game, it means that whatever game I give you next, you have to lock. You're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
But I give you the next game, so that's fine.
Go ahead. Give me next game.
Yeah, Broncos at Jets.
Broncos Jets. Yeah. I'm picking the Jets to win. Believe it or not, Kyle. If Zach Wilson could get in, it could be a Zach Wilson revenge game. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think
he's going to play. Yeah.
I don't think so. No, Bo Nix coming off a very nice performance. We kind of talked about how Sean Payton just seemingly has the number. I don't know how much that's going to work in this game. I could see them scheming some stuff up. That could be your pathway to victory. Obviously, I'm picking the Jets to win. I haven't saying to do anything else. We saw how dominant this Jets offense looked last week. Did not look dominant last year, but last week it looked great. And again, this Jets coverage unit should be able to thrive against this Broncos receiving core.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with everything you said. I guess the one argument is like we did see Bo Nix play very well against like a pretty good defense last week. And we've seen like I know the Jets had a big sack game last week, but that Patriots offensive line is not an NFL offensive line, and like there is a chance like Nix moves around, makes some plays with his legs, is able to beat this defensive line, stuff like that. That being said, I still think there's too many. If he plays like he did last week, the Broncos do have a chance to win this game. But that being said, I'm just too worried about him throwing the ball down the field on this team. So I think there's a chance he puts the ball in harm's way. I did see a lot of progress from him last week. I was impressed with the way he played last week. But I just think this is too daunting of a task against this Jets secondary.
Yeah. I mean, well, I guess the one thing you think about, though, is like, could they just like run? I mean, the thing is, the running game hasn't been very good. So it's like the whole thing is like, well, we run the ball. That hasn't been great. Well, we pass protect well. Well, the Jets can really pass rush well. I guess the one thing you could see is I actually, coaching wise, like this matchup for Denver. I think that's the one thing I think they have an advantage on. I like the Sean Payton scheme against a Robert Saleh defense. I do. I just don't know if they have the personnel to make this work. They can get a little bit more time than the Jets are used to having to cover. Like that could be a way that maybe you could have success. I wouldn't bet on it, but like that's kind of the one window I see where things could go well.
Yeah, that's also kind of drove me nuts about these rookie quarterbacks so far. Like between Bo Nix and Caleb Williams, neither of these teams have a run game to help these guys. Like not only are these like quarterbacks have had bad weeks, but they're so dependent on these guys too. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so I agree with everything you said. Like the issue is like, in theory, the scheme should work and they have some opportunities there, but that's also asking like Cortland Sutton to get open against Sauce Gardner. So like that's still a concern for me. So I do think there are some interesting aspects to that, but listen, I thought we saw some really good things out of Bo Nix. So if we see that again, I'm not going to count him out. And maybe his legs are a factor. He can run. That is a big advantage for him. But I still just say like he cannot put the ball in harm's way, and I'm just not betting on that yet.
Yeah, and poor Cortland Sutton. He's like a good receiver. He shouldn't be number one. He gets so much criticism on this show, but he's like a fine player who just has to do too much.
Yeah, he's definitely a top 40 receiver. The problem is they need him to be like a top 30, 20 receiver.
Yeah. Let's move on. 2 games left. Kyle, I'm going to give you a game. You have to lock up one of these teams. I think I know where you're going. Steelers at locking up Anthony Richardson. And this is the game he turns everything around.
Yeah. No, that is not what's happening. Listen, what did I say? Suck it, nerds. The defense is running the NFL right now. And if the Vikings aren't the best defense in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers are. And they're close. They're both really close. We can get into that at a different time because this Steelers defense is awesome. It's one of the most expensive defenses in the NFL. They've played like it. This pass rush is amazing. TJ Watt is amazing. He's the defensive player of the year so far this season. If we can get into we did this with Justin Jefferson last week too, where like he might be like more valuable than like half the quarterbacks in the league. I think TJ Watt's more valuable than half the quarterbacks in the league. I don't care, nerds. So anyway, tell me the secondary.
You can just say Jackson. You don't have to say nerds.
It's okay. It's okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not directing it at you. Trust me. Look, they've been terrific. I think they're going to dominate, and this defense should dominate. Anthony Richardson's rattled, man. Like it's just straight up in his like. Did you see that interception in the end zone last week where he like rolled out and he like tried to pump fake? Or I think he was going to pass and then like realized, wait, this is covered. I can't make that throw. And then tried to stop halfway through the throw.
I think it was tipped. Just fumbled I think it
was it tipped?
Tipped. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because it looked like he like slipped out of his hand, like he was trying to bring it back in, sort of.
Yeah, it looked like he threw it 1 foot forward, but yeah, it was tipped, but it was still a horrible decision regardless.
Yeah. So regardless, yeah. I mean, it was a bad throw, and like I just think it's all in his head at this point. I think he's making way too many bad decisions. And you know what team I don't want to make bad decisions against? The Pittsburgh Steelers, who don't make a lot of bad decisions at all, because we go on the other side of this team. This offense has played mistake-free football. Justin Fields handling the game very well, handling the pressure. He even made some big-time throws last week, and he's going against a defense that has very much underperformed this season, really struggled against the run. I think this is Steelers easy money. I think they win this one by more than 3.
I agree. I think this is a disrespectful line to the undefeated Steelers. Kyle, I agree. TJ Watt's been incredible. One weird stat is only 7 pressures on the year for TJ Watt through 3 games. He had a perfect game last week where it was a perfect TJ Watt game. If he only has 1 pressure, but it was like a key third down, like immediate sack. It's like, yeah, that's the TJ Watt specialty right there. But he still has been incredible though. A lot of it has been getting double of attention getting put on him, which has opened the door. Cam Hayward has been all the way back after coming a down season last year. With Nick Herbig having to take a bigger leap, having to take more playing time. He's been great as the edge rusher across the board. Like, yeah, there's so many good players on this defensive line, and the coverage also doing its job. I do wonder, could this be a game we see them a downfield passing attack? I just wonder now with the Steelers of like. Part of it is their pass rush gets there so quick, it's hard to throw the ball that far down the field. But like, I still just wonder, their corners usually are just good enough, and they have really good safeties with Deshaun Elliott and Minkah Fitzpatrick. I just wonder, is there potential for an Alec Pierce shot here?
There is potential for it, but I think the issue I have with Indianapolis is they have to do it more than once. Like we've been able to get like one Alec Pierce game. When Alec Pierce plays, it feels like a game where Richardson hits him downfield. And I just don't trust Richardson enough right now, based on what we've seen this season, to consistently hit those big plays down the field, those opportunities. And he's going to have to hit his shots because the Steelers aren't going to give him a lot of chances. And he's very much a big play-oriented quarterback. And if he can't do those, like at sooner or later, you might have to think about a quarterback change.
Yeah. I guess another question I would ask, I think there is a bit to brought it up with Darnold. There is a bit of with Justin Fields. Like, okay, so is this? I think it is, but like, yes, you're playing well, but it is still a small sample size. If he play dipped at any point, I don't know if it's going to happen this week though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen this week against this defense, but I mean, it is one of those things we get skeptical. We're skeptical until we're finally proven. It has to be a bigger sample size than 3 games, and he's done very well. He's checked all the boxes, but we'll see it again this week.
Yeah. Kyle, final game. It's my game to pick. Patriots, 49ers. I'm, of course, picking the 49ers to win, with all due respect to your New England Patriots, who have been playing very poorly. 49ers also not been playing their best football, 1-2. I still think we got away from them. Hard winning games, especially divisional games, is hard. I'm not going to overreact too much to that. To me, it would be a bit of an overreaction. I think the 49ers win, and I think they cover the 10.
Yeah, I was pretty comfortable picking this game too, honestly, as a lock. I think this defensive line is going to cause so many issues, and that's just where I don't see this team coming back, right? So, yeah, I feel pretty good about the Niners. I think they're going to be able to rush the passer. I think they're going to be able to bother Jacoby Brissett. I wouldn't be surprised if Drake May gets back in this game. The offense is going to struggle. The one thing is, like, we have to see, like, if Ramondre Stevenson, he's got to hang onto the ball, is able to run the ball a little bit. That's kind of what you look at. But still, it's not something to be overly optimistic in at this point. So, yeah, I think I would pick San Francisco -10. So I think this is probably a 3-score game.
What would the line have to be? Say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna, I'll put money on the Patriots.
Like over 17 points.
Over 17, so 16.5. You're still going with the Niners.
Yeah, I think I feel pretty good about anything 3-score. How did the Patriots score 10 points in this game?
Well, maybe they get a blocked punt.
That would be
one kickoff touchdown.
Like, they would have to get pressure on Brock Purdy and make a play, right? Like, Keon White would have to get him for a sack strip, and then they would have to have a short field touchdown. Like, I don't see this team going the full length of the field. Like, that's basically my issue.
It's going to be tough. Yeah. Nick Bosa against this offensive line seems like a bit of a concern here.
Yeah. I do think the Patriots front four has played very well. Like I said, Keon White has probably been the star of this team so far this season. I did look it up today because I was curious. The Patriots have 4 players. Um, the Patriots have 4 players who are currently top 20 in their position for the season. It's Keon White, Jabril Peppers, Ramondre Stevenson, who's 20th out of all the running backs in the league, and then I don't even remember who the 4th guy was. Hunter Henry. That's it. Hunter Henry's had a good start of the season, but that's because they can't throw the ball outside. So that's not really where you want
Yeah. Not a. No. The issue is sure to have those 4 stars, but they lack depth, right? Sure, those
Yeah,
4 guys you build around for a franchise, but you don't have a lot else.
Yeah, and I mean, like that's also talking about like Hunter Henry or Ramondre Stevenson, like their offensive building blocks. Like they should be complementary pieces, anyways.
Yeah, it's tough when your stars are like if any of those guys were on the 49ers, like we wouldn't even bring them up. Okay, Keon White would bring up, but like for most part, those aren't guys we're bringing
Peppers
up.
would play for them.
You're right. Jabril Peppers as well. Two out of those guys, 2 out of the 4 we would not be bringing up.
Yeah. I mean, it's just tough. Like, yeah, I mean, they got a lot of issues there. Not a lot of talent. The secondary hasn't been very good. They also lost Jawan Bentley at linebacker. Like, I just don't see a lot of room for this team to, kind of make up this ground.
Yeah. Could be a tough one, but hey, never know. They've beaten the Bengals. Maybe they can make another full rabbit out of there as the great Jason. Kyle, let them know we can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Grondin. And make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcasts, search On the Sideline Pod. It should be available anywhere you get your podcast. Yeah, Kyle, that is our show. Bit of a long show, but again, we had a lot to get to. Bye week's just around the corner. Well, we made it.
Yeah, bye week's just around the corner. Getting to October, so this is going to be fun. And hopefully we learn a little bit more about all these teams.
Yes, and hopefully the Yankees lose in the playoffs.
That's what we always hope for. Ready to celebrate 15 years.
Yes, again. Thank you, everybody. Any final thoughts, Kyle?
No, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Again, we do appreciate it for watching or listening, however you enjoyed this podcast. Appreciate it. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.